Desperate to steal attention from the Met Gala, Donald Trump has instigated the ceasefire to its end, culminating in another threat to wipe Iran off the face of the earth. Mifepristone access has been restored by the court on a very temporary basis. Hakeem Jeffries dips his toe into redistricting New York State. We have a shady story about John Fetterman, some high-profile trial news, and a new virus that's hopefully nothing to worry about. Let's get into it. So the ceasefire's over. We leave off where I last recorded, late on Sunday evening, when Donald Trump posted on his little fucking social media app that the United States would start escorting ships. However, by the next morning, yesterday, this had morphed into something more like the U.S. Navy helping guide them from a distance, which there really is no reason for me to tell you about, other than you know, so in case you hear someone claim that Donald Trump has it all under control because the ships are being escorted, blah, blah, blah. No. The thing is, though, that Iran took Donald at his word and said that this would be considered a violation of the ceasefire, to which Donald responded that if Iran attacks any ships, they would be, quote, blown off the face of the earth. And reader, listener, viewer, Iran did it anyway, firing on multiple ships in the Strait, finally putting this fake ceasefire that was formerly known as a ceasefire to bed. Now that the fog of war is rolling back in, Donald gave remarks, one might call them that, at the White House yesterday, during which he bragged about how our country is, quote, booming now, despite the fact that we're in I call it a mini-war, because that's all they are. And then he bragged about passing yet another cognitive test, on which he outperformed both Biden and Obama. I guess if you count a very bad score as better than having no score at all, because you don't need to take the test. But this just proves that he does need to take the test. Quick update on medication abortion from the Supreme Court, but don't take this one the right way. The court has issued a temporary order that restores patient access to the abortion medication Mifepristone via mail for 1 week while the Supremes decide what they want to do. That's okay. The miscarriage complications will surely take care of themselves while 5 men and a handmaid, with not a medical degree between them, decide what they think is best for everybody else. Speaking of Supreme Court fallout, we have more redistricting action. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said yesterday that he's devising a plan for redistricting New York State and that he is dispatching New York Congressman Joe Morelli, a Democrat, to Albany to work with state lawmakers on a redistricting plan. They said that they're going to explore, quote, every option to protect voters in 2026, 2028, and beyond. Though most likely, under New York state law, a new map wouldn't be approved for voting purposes until 2027 at the earliest. But I guess we'll see. Miracles happen once in a while when you believe. This next story doesn't appear to be anything major as of now, but you should just know that there was an altercation near the Washington Monument in D.C. yesterday afternoon, shortly after Vice President J.D. Vance's motorcade passed by, in which gunfire was exchanged between the Secret Service and an armed man. There was also apparently a nearby child who was hit, though their injuries weren't life-threatening, so not too many reporting inches were spent on them. The White House was briefly locked down while the incident was managed, though police are still investigating the shooting, and it's still not clear who or what the man was targeting. So apparently Donald Trump has offered Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman a financial windfall, plus his complete and total endorsement if Fetterman switches parties to a Republican, or becomes an independent if he must. According to reporting in Politico, not just Trump, but other Republicans in the Senate have been waging a pressure campaign to get Fetterman to flip, including his colleagues Katie Britt and Dave McCormick, along with their spouses, who have been befriending him with this goal. Not transparent at all. When asked by Politico, Fetterman said, quote, I'm not changing. I'm a Democrat and I'm staying one. Though in private, he reportedly is less explicit in that rejection. Who knows, though? Perhaps your local astrologer. Or maybe Polymarket? We have a lot of high-profile trial news. First, it ends with a settlement. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, and their attorneys and comms teams, issued a joint statement yesterday that they had come to an agreement. And this was just hours before Blake attended the Met Gala, so she must have been in glam while putting the finishing touches on this statement personally, which you can read here if you're interested. The terms of the agreement weren't disclosed, of course. Though, by the way, if they hadn't reached this agreement, Blake and Justin were set to go to trial in just a few weeks, which could have been very embarrassing and very expensive, and involved Blake Lively taking the stand, and potentially more texts with Taylor Swift. UK police are pushing to bring a trial for the abduction and murder of Madeleine McCann, a British child who went missing in Portugal when she was 3 years old in 2007 and was never found. Metropolitan Police are reportedly working to bring 49-year-old suspect Christian Bruckner to Britain from Germany in order to stand trial. At the time of her abduction, Bruckner was living a mile away from the hotel where McCann went missing. The legal situation could be complicated by the fact that Germany's constitution prevents the extradition of its citizens from non-EU countries, though British police say that they're committed to pursuing charges in Germany or Portugal, if not in the UK. Wow, an unforeseen Brexit consequence. This was a few days ago, but I want you to know that a judge has denied the request of FTX scammer Sam Bankman-Fried to have a new trial based on his claim that there are new witnesses who could exonerate him. The judge called his claims about new witnesses baseless, and so the 34-year-old crypto scammer will continue his 25-year prison sentence, unless he somehow finagles his way into an arrangement with Donald, which you know he's probably trying to do. And finally, 3 people on a cruise ship have died from what World Health Organization authorities believe is a hantavirus infection, which is spread airborne by rodent droppings, though rarely between people. You might recognize this particular plague as the cause of death of Gene Hackman and his wife last year. And right now, there are at least 3 other diagnosed infections from the cruise, one of whom is in intensive care in South Africa, as well as 5 other suspected cases. The Dutch-owned ship that was traveling in the Atlantic Ocean is currently anchored off of Cape Verde on Africa's western coast. Isn't this just what we need right now? Rats with lethal shit? Until tomorrow, I'm Sammy Sage, and now you know what the fuck is going on.